Good evening, and thank you for joining us for Devotions from a Distance. Today we turn to the book of James, chapter 4, verses 7 through 8, for our word for the day. It says, "Therefore, submit to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded." These are strange times that we're living in. The past 3 months have been unprecedented in our lifetime. Quarantines, face coverings, social distancing, color our world. These are difficult days for many. You meet people wearing face coverings and practicing social distancing 6 feet away from you, all the while trying to talk with you. You can't hear what they're saying. It sounds like they're mumbling. I have a difficult time hearing before. Now it's impossible. You can't read their lips because it's covered with their face covering. All this social distancing makes me think about my prayer life. What about you? Have you found yourself practicing social distancing in your prayer life? It's easy, you know. You haven't been to church in almost 3 months. You've been isolated from your small groups, from your Sunday school, from your support system, from your friends and family. It's easy in the midst of being separated to separate yourself from God. It's easy to just drift away from God in your prayer time. James tells us that God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. In light of this, he says to submit to God and draw near to him. When we do, the devil flees. If it feels like God is wearing a face covering, and then you slip back 6 feet and can't hear what God is saying, then it's time to draw near to him. I remember seeing a sign at the church in Owensboro one time, and on the sign it said, "If you're not as close to God today as you were last year, who moved?" That's something to think about. If we're having trouble hearing from God, it's not because God has walked away from us, but it's because we've increased the distance between ourselves and God. You see, when we don't have that weekly nourishing and feeding on the Word of God and that fellowship of other believers, it's easy just to kind of slowly fade until it's more and more difficult to draw near to God. You know, James tells us that if we draw near to God, man, Satan flees. He runs. You know, in this time of social distancing and quarantine, temptations can rage. Because you heard the phrase, the idleness is the devil's workshop. When we have more time on our hands than we're used to, Satan has all types of weapons he can use to attack us. But the one weapon that can keep Satan at bay is prayer. When you draw near to God, he draws near to you. When you bring that social distancing together, from 6 feet to 3 feet to 1 foot to together, the closer you get to God, the easier it is to hear his word, to walk in his truth. So this morning, this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow, fill that gap with your presence. Seek him, and you'll discover that in seeking him, he's seeking you. Social distancing is a good plan if you're going to avoid COVID-19, but not for our prayer life. Hopefully, you'll discover that closeness with God. It's a repeat.